All right, y'all. We are back. Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Three Bros and a Mic. You know who we are, man. We got Mike on the end. We got Mark right here, J Mac and Zay.
Yes, sir, Steve.
Let's go.
And thank you for tuning in. Wherever you are, whatever time of the day it is, we appreciate you. And don't forget to smash that subscribe button,
Like, follow, comment.
like button,
Hey, we love them
smash that
comments,
like button,
too.
all that, man. Share this
Fact,
video,
and
man.
share.
And
Fact,
share,
yeah,
man. So we got a topic today, man. I'm gonna let Mark tell us what the topic
Oh,
is,
gonna be
and
juicy.
then we're gonna get into it, man. Let's do it, Mark.
We don't
Alright,
usually
so-
have too many differentiating, opinions on this one, but y'all stay tuned for this one. It's
Ooh,
gonna be
this is
juicy.
hot and heavy.
Oh, yeah.
It's hot and heavy, y'all. So we're talking about should your spouse, wait for it,
Mm.
be your best friend?
Ooh,
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And if not, would a relationship work? Okay, so we got differences of opinions, both sides of the story.
Two-part
Well, will your spouse, is your spouse, should your spouse be your best friend? And if not, would a relationship work?
Well, I will say this.
Oh, you gonna jump in early?
No, I'm gonna get the facts out.
Ah.
Like you said on camera. He said, "Yo, let's get the facts out. Let's get the facts out."
Let's go.
All right. So the facts is, man. First of all, what is a best friend?
Definition.
Let's do that.
Proper
Now,
definition.
of course, there are many definitions of the best friend.
Right.
We all know that. Different definitions, man. But the Webster, actually the Oxford definition is a best friend, a person's closest friend. That's what they have. But I went a little deeper, man. I was like, what's the difference between a close friend and a best friend? Because a lot of people say that I got a lot of close friends. That's my close friend, and best friend. So here from this website, man, called differencebetween.com, they say, it says, and I quote, a close friend is someone you rely on and can trust, but a best friend is a person with whom you share everything with.
You confide in.
So the key distinction is that level of friendship shared by two best friends is greater than two close friends. So a close friend is someone you can rely on and trust completely. In life, you can have close friends at different stages. For example, school, you may have a number of friends with whom you share your happiness and sorrow with.
Right.
Then as you grow up, you may find new friends in your college or university and even in your workplace. So the key characteristic of a close friend is that you can share everything with this person and feel completely comfortable in his or her presence. Okay? And that last thing, this is because a close friend does not judge or condescend,
Okay.
but understands and comforts their friend. He or she is always there in difficult times and cares for their friend. And really quick, what's a best friend then? A best friend, a person with whom you share everything with. The difference between a close friend and a best friend is that when something happens to you, the first person that you wish to share it with is your best friend. In this sense, in the friendship hierarchy, a best friend gains the highest position in comparison to a close friend. And let me leave y'all with this. I did lie. I'm sorry. One more thing. Even in difficult situations, best friends are always there, comforting the friend, and would literally do anything to make their friend happy.
So I think just wrap up for the bros, get to it. J Matt was saying basically, you can have friends, but the difference between your friend and your best friend is,
Different levels.
somebody, not only, your friend is somebody, you can holler at, right? But your best friend is somebody you can confide in.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. Let's get it.
Yeah, so a close friend is someone you can rely on. A best friend is a person whom you can share everything with.
Right.
So trustworthy. So does that mean your best friend, you can't trust them? Because they said a close friend is someone you can rely on and can trust, right? But a best friend is someone who you can share everything with.
So to circle back
So
to our topic, should your spouse be your best friend? I think that's the open.
That's the central theme right there.
Let's go.
yeah, all right. So if you don't know, we've been happening in the world, man. The famous actor Blair Underwood is engaged. He divorced his wife of 20 some odd years, and he is now engaged 18 months after his divorce to his 41-year-old best friend Josie Hart.
Wow.
You know what the people gonna say?
Right.
Right. So our folks thinking about, wait a minute.
She ain't just been waiting in the wings for 41 years.
Y'all been.
So if you do the math, now we don't know the whole detail, but if you just do the numbers, don't even judge. 41 years, been married for 27. So obviously he knew this lady before he met his wife, in my opinion. So, but anyway, he's engaged to be married after 18 months of just getting divorced. He wrote on Instagram, "My personal highlight was walking the red carpet with my new fiance." And then wait, hold on, sorry. And then here's what else he said. He said, and I don't want to hold y'all up, man. I want to make sure I say this right. He said that in the statement, after a tremendous amount of thought, prayer, and work on ourselves individually and collectively, we come to the conclusion to end our marriage that began 27 years ago. But he said our proudest achievements were our 3 children, and all of that.
Right.
And he said we've always put their best interests first, going back to our last episode, and we'll continue to do so.
I put that PR statement on.
You know what I'm saying? But he did go on to talk about how he's like over the head, over the moon, in love, and it just felt right that how everything worked out. So what y'all think of this?
Shout out to
He made
but
me,
yo,
He made
that's
me.
41 years of you just waiting in the wings, and just so happened that like when I divorced you right there, that's
Well, we don't know. Was the new fiance? Has she been in a marriage before?
I don't know.
That is so
41
coincidental
years is
that
a long
like
time to be
after 41
single.
years you right there to
Right.
catch yo.
I don't think it matters at that point.
At that point,
Like if you leave your wife and then less than 2 years later you
with
marry
me?
your quote unquote best friend.
Best friend? You know
Where was she the whole time
Come
you were
on,
married?
man.
First 20 years with your wife, bro.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? So like I said, we're talking about should your spouse be your best friend?
Let's get back to that.
Why not? And will it work if not? Right? So Mike, what you guys talking about it, bro?
Right. How you feel about that, Mark? I mean, Mike, how you feel about that, Mike?
And I think we got to start and identify like what are some of the characteristics or criteria for a best friend, right? And I think that discussion begins with how do we measure that? Is it quality of the relationship? Is it the quantity or the timeline? Chronologically speaking, is it how long I've known this person?
And I guess it goes both ways. Does your spouse consider you her best friend too, as well?
But like fundamentally, even like before that, it's just like, well, how do we define
quantify that? Right.
Like what does that mean? Like, do I confine? Because from what Jimmy had explained in that definition, I agreed with maybe 95% of it, but there was one part I didn't particularly. Where it was just like if something were to happen to you, your best friend is the first person that you reach out to.
Right.
So it's like for me, like I have emergent situations. I've had emergencies or whatever.
Right.
And like I don't particularly give any of my friends a best friend title. Like I feel like it's understood. Like I feel like my bros are part of my like I look at it
close circle.
I look more of it like family. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like at one point growing up, I did look at close friends, best friends, or whatever. But like if an emergent situation happened for me, like I need somebody here.
Your first brother, yeah. So
a spouse or a friend or somebody like I had a whole breakdown with my car a couple months ago, or maybe about a year ago or so, and the first person that showed up was Jimmy Mack, and I didn't even have to call him. Him and Callie just happened to be there.
That's crazy. So we had a whole discussion pre-production. Like when y'all put it like that, then it's kind of like okay. So it makes me kind of like change my outlook because if it's something like that, like I guess. Because my wife would be the first person I would call. Like if it's something emergency situation, whether it be myself or with my child, or I think vice versa. I would be the first person, and vice versa. She would be the first.
That's more than a friend.
Right. Yeah. Facts.
More than a friend.
Naturally.
Facts. As it should be, but outside of that,
yes, emergencies
or whatever.
Yeah.
Like my quote unquote best friends, and I'm putting that in air quotes, they don't particularly live in Atlanta or in Georgia or whatever, right? So they're not the first person I'm calling for an emergency or when something hits the fan or if I'm up against the wall or whatever.
Right.
Like, so I didn't particularly agree with that part, but like I think we should still identify or define like what does the best friend mean? Because is it somebody that you talk to every day? Is it somebody you're in a group chat with?
Even to combat that though, Mike, I have people that I consider like best friends that live here. But in an emergency situation, my wife would be the first person I would call. I wouldn't think about even calling them first.
Right.
Like, so y'all are really giving me a 180 because I was really against what y'all were saying initially. But then when y'all put it like that, then I'm trying to change my stance.
See, it's all about growth, man.
It's
Right,
growth.
right,
That's it.
right,
It
right.
changes. Your wife
It's all
becomes
listening,
that.
bro. It's all about circumstance.
right.
You know?
And we
Right.
talked about
Right, yeah,
divine. We talked about divine
And
order.
I think
Divine
Mark
order.
would agree too, though, man. Like in a situation like that, if it's an emergency, like got in a wreck, he got in a wreck and he was just in the car. His spouse would be the first person he wouldn't think about calling.
Well, that's
his
the
best
order
friend.
of priority.
Yes,
bro.
but does that? But see, so how are we organizing best friend? Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's
Best
why I
friend,
wanted to get to
like
the definition of
right facts. So I
So-
need to get a clearer definition.
But
of-
that
Definition,
definition
there's no
is
set
subjective.
right, yeah,
subjective.
facts.
It's
There's no set
subjective. You
definition.
can't. There's no universal, like, clear cut answer.
Right.
It depends on your experience in your life. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
I do believe that some people look at it as like when I'm down and out. To that definition that you read,
Right.
this isn't my interpretation, but to what you read,
Right.
there is a overwhelming majority of people that look at it and say, you know, when I'm down and out, if I was to get a flat right now, if I was to
Right.
get robbed or something was to happen to me, like this person A, not my spouse, not my husband,
Right.
this person's gonna be here on the first flight here that's my best friend.
First
And I don't particularly
call.
First call,
Right.
like I don't particularly measure it in that sense.
Right.
Like that's a rider for me. That's a stepper for me. That's somebody that like got your back. That's
Right.
family for
So
me.
essentially, y'all have changed my whole perspective. Because if that's the case, then yeah, I am on board with y'all. If that's y'all criteria, then I've been looking at the situation entirely wrong.
I would say this though. I think though you can't. It's unfair for you or for your spouse to completely depend on them.
Right.
100%.
I know that's not what you're saying.
100% agree.
But what I'm saying is like you gotta have a village.
Right.
If not a village, a crew, a
Yes.
squad,
Yes.
somebody that you know what, because everybody has a shortcoming.
Right.
And you know if you having a situation like I was saying about car breaking down, and your wife is not in that role of you
Right.
know understanding what to do when that
Right.
happens, you're not gonna call her.
But J man, who you prioritize? Who's gonna
You
be
know
the
what I'm
first
saying?
call? Like you just
Ooh.
keeping it abreast of what's going on, though.
I mean, in that kind of situation,
Right.
I mean, for me, my wife, I know she would know what to do.
But you would still give
So-
her the first opportunity to be like, know what's going on.
Oh,
with
well,
you.
absolutely.
Right.
That's notice though. That's
Absolutely.
like that's like
Right, so-
that's like courtesy.
That's priority.
That's priority.
Right.
Like
But
you
then
said.
if you go by what the definition of J Mac is saying, that's technically saying that's your because that's your first thought is to call
Your best friend.
I
About
would
everything.
feel offended if Jimmy called Callie over calling one of us to help her change a tire if he had a plan. He can he can notify her first. He can notify her first, but that doesn't necessarily take away from him calling us second or third or fourth.
Right.
I tell you right now, my wife
Hey.
would not be upset if I had a flat and I called one of y'all.
Straight
But
up.
that's different though. What?
Right.
Because
So,
it is-
so that's what I'm
everybody
saying.
knows,
What's
like,
she gonna do?
But would he do that though? J Mac would not do that.
I
Callie
would.
you would call one of us over calling Callie first to let
To
you know.
notify her.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Right. The whole point of the
Right.
notify.
So J Mac,
Listen,
you
let me
leaving
break it
my
up.
so
Let me
J Mac,
so
so
J
J
Mac
Mac
is to help two different things.
right.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying
Oh,
to
we're
break it
talking-
down.
Yes.
Right.
So
We're just going off of what he read.
Right.
Because
So-
what he read said the first person I call is my best friend. The first person that responds is my best friend.
See,
and that's what I didn't agree
That's
with.
too explicative.
Right.
What we're talking
That's-
about is deeper than that. We're talking
Right.
about we're talking about relationships, y'all. Because look,
Right.
we all in relationships, right?
Right.
On whatever level it
That's-
is, kids to no kids. So we're
That's-
talking about in relationships, right? The day-to-day shit that we go through,
Yeah.
the real life stuff. Okay. Obviously, outside of our spouses, right? When we're going through stuff,
Yeah.
when we go through that stuff,
Right.
whether it's related or whether it includes our spouses, who do we call first, right?
Right.
And if it's not our spouse, and we're talking about best friends,
Right.
then why not? That's what we're
So-
talking
so
about.
That's
we got to
That's what we're talking about. Let's bring it in a little bit. You know what I'm talking about?
Nah, I don't think you have to bring it in. It's all relative.
Yeah, it's all
Because I'm saying you know your wife's flaws.
Right.
You know
Okay.
Limitations.
You know what she can do and what she cannot do,
Right.
right? So if I like going back to Mike, if I got a flat, I'm gonna let my wife know that I got a flat, but I'm gonna call one of y'all to come help me.
Okay,
Right.
so give me a quick text. Quick
Okay,
text.
so
That's what I'm saying.
But my thing
There's no
was,
fault in
who would you notify first, Jimmy man?
What
You
does
got
that
to
matter?
no.
Hey,
It's not even a matter though, because it's a quantification thing.
You think my wife's gonna say, "Oh, because you didn't text me first in 2
I
minutes.
feel some type of way.
There are some women out there that say, "Hey, why didn't you call me first?"
Right. Some viewers have.
Regardless of what they can physically do about the situation, say, "Why did you notify me first? I'm supposed to be your go-to."
I think it depends on the situation.
Why not, Jimmy Matt?
Right.
I'm supposed to be your go-to.
supposed
Why
to
you
be
didn't
your
call
best
me first?
I'm giving y'all a real life situation.
Everything y'all saying out there, that ain't.
I'm giving y'all.
That ain't my wife.
I'm supposed to be your best friend. How you gonna call
And
Mark first?
I don't know where that woman is, but it ain't in my house. It ain't in my house.
It's not my situation too, and I'm giving y'all a real life situation
Right.
with a real life person right here on this panel.
Okay.
Right? My wife did not hear about that until after the fact,
Ooh.
and they helped me not once but twice. Jimmy Mack helped me jumpstart my car to get to where I needed to go, and then afterwards, when I realized my car didn't have any gas, he got me. They jump started me to get my car.
So
and my wife didn't know about it till after the fact.
It was no backlash in your household.
No backlash at all.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
And for the listeners, that doesn't devalue your spouse or your wife, right?
No,
not at all.
Is
what it is in that situation. What was imperative for you to get to the next level?
And she didn't know. And she didn't look at it like that.
Right.
You know, she looked at it as, all right, cool. Like, you know, you had somebody that you trusted, somebody that was there, God willing, right? God willing was there to help and assist.
Now I will say this. Now I think there is there is a asterisk here. Now if 10 to 15 to 20 other people know about this, and one you live with don't know nothing, that's a different story.
Well, we was talking about timeline,
right?
You know what I'm saying? We're talking about,
that's a different story.
As long as if it happens, within the vicinity of the incident. Right, the day of, then it's all good.
So let me ask you, Mike. So you got Jimmy Mack on the horn. You let him know, whoop, 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 this is what's going on with me. Your next call or next information was to your spouse, right?
Right, correct.
Okay, to let her know what's going on.
Absolutely.
So she didn't feel devalued, as your best friend.
Not at all.
That you call somebody before her.
Because it's practical, right? Like you got to think about it like practical. Like we're talking about a car in the middle of Jimmy. Where was that? It was literally in the middle of
Greenbrier.
It was
it's out the exit.
I was stuck in an exit. My wife, who's at the time in Buckhead, ain't about to. Jimmy Mack, found me.
Closer.
Right.
Not realistic.
Right? Like, I mean, so it just wasn't realistic. It wasn't practical.
Was it aesthetically?
Right.
I was an obstruction to the flow of traffic.
Right.
He was. Like, literally, I had to get out and help him push it.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it just wasn't practical for me to call my quote unquote best friend at that time in the order of priority because, I can let them know on the back end, but I got my brother right here
Exactly.
and his wife willing to help me.
Right.
So, Mike, at a breakdown of being that, do you feel like in that situation, does Mike feel like that's his best friend? Like, oh, that's my first. Like, I'm gonna call my best friend to see like how they would navigate this situation.
Nah, not that.
So you didn't even think about it in that situation.
Because I'm thinking like operationally. I'm thinking like roles and
like who's in the area that can actually.
Well, I'm thinking of just like physically. Like I'm not about to call my wife if I'm in a bind. I'm not calling my wife. If I'm in a tuffle, like a physical tuffle, I'm not calling my wife. Hey, I'm trying to figure out how to like load this Home Depot garden chair into the house. I'm not calling my wife for that. So I'm sorry. I'm just not. I'm gonna call my home. I'm gonna call Mark. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call Zach. I'm gonna call somebody. Like, yo, how can I help? Like that. It's just.
I think it all goes back to knowing knowing strengths about who you're in a relationship with.
Right. Yeah.
Knowing their strengths. I'm not. Well, like for instance, if I hear some like crazy news on sports, I'm not calling my wife.
No.
I'm calling Zach.
Right.
Calling y'all.
What you talking about?
Right. I'm texting her. She might say, "Oh, okay, that's cool. Why are you telling me that?" And then she might say, "Well, did you let Zay? Did you let Mark?" Right. See, so it all depends on who that person is in your relationship. You know,
that's why we're getting deep in it because. To me, that doesn't quantify. That's not your best friend. Like you got all these different scenarios. Y'all got all these different scenarios. But does that quantify? That's not your best friend. That's that's my like you said, Jimmy. That's my spouse.
Ooh. See, but that's where we're getting at, bro.
Yeah, that's my spouse, but that's not my friend. Like my best.
Because I can say that. I said
that. There you go. No,
we know that.
Bro, break it down, bro. Your pop said
because
your wife is your wife and your best friend is your best friend.
I feel like y'all are making my point. Like a spouse is a spouse, but that's not necessarily your friend.
See, but we get that though, right? We're not arguing against each other.
Right.
We're talking about what the masses and the majority says.
Right.
He read, and I feel like that's what the majority feels
But J Mac feels like his spouse is his best friend. But
and that's fine.
All y'all saying is not. All y'all are saying is not going along with what y'all are saying. That is more or less saying like that's his spouse.
But I'm saying that every household is different.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
It's subjective.
Right.
His definition, his household is going to be way different than mine.
That's
It
it.
doesn't mean his is right and mine is wrong.
Right.
It's just what fits your household.
Right.
And your life experiences.
Right.
Like right now, if we put our wives up here, they would have 4 different answers.
Yes.
Yeah, I
That's-
side with
that's
that, and
true.
that's
You know what I'm
true.
saying?
That's true, and that's
You know what I'm
subjective.
saying?
But then,
It's
like
subjective.
the stats
Yeah.
are objective.
Objective.
So the majority, that's like, I mean, that's statistics. That's biostatistics, right?
Right.
The majority feels that like my best friend is willing to do X, Y, Z.
But it
the
don't
first
make it
person,
right.
it don't make it right, but that's what
Right.
the majority feels. So
Right,
you're right.
right.
It's subjective for the 4 of us, but we're
Yeah.
only 4 out of a sample size of 4 million.
But I'll say this. And he want to throw me in like y'all. My pops, for those of you who don't know, man, was a minister, and he made a comment in church, and he said it wasn't like he just how he just came out and said it. It was in context to something. I don't remember the sermon he was talking about, but he said in a nutshell that his wife, my mom, is not his best friend. It's not his friend.
He chose her to be.
I chose her to be my wife.
Right.
I married her to be my wife.
Right.
But my dad's a good way of trying to clean up after he says something. So he tried to clean it up, like I mean, we still. It's not like we don't talk or
Right. Yeah.
But he
Exactly.
also
Exactly.
old
Right.
school too, though.
But he's old school. So he's basically saying in the way he said it. Of course, to the newer generation, it rubs them wrong.
Right. But he's not saying that
He's not.
He's not saying that she's not his friend. It's just not necessarily his best friend.
I mean, I could take it that way, but then again, we're all guilty of it. You said what you said. You know what I'm saying? You said what you said.
And he doesn't open to an invitation, right?
Right.
He basically said, she's my wife. She's not my best friend.
Right.
And so then you look at my mom who's sitting right there, and she's like, oh, okay.
Right.
So
But is
then,
that a slight though?
but then you got to think about the effect that has on her
Right.
when everybody else who's in church, starts talking to you like, girl, your husband don't think you his. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole other way. But now all the old school guys, not us, but the old school guys are like, yeah, we understand.
Right.
Because they're from that era.
Right.
Then us, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I didn't agree with it. And I told them that. I said, I don't agree with that. I said, because I think when you start to date someone, you start to build some kind of friendship or some type
Yes.
of level of relationship
Totally
or
agree.
friendship.
Totally agree.
You start. Now, does it grow all the time to a best friendship? No. It doesn't have to. It's not a prerequisite to getting married.
Which is what we're talking about.
Right.
It's not a prerequisite. But for me, in my case, it happened to happen that way.
Right.
Because it wasn't like me and my I'm about to say her name. Me and my wife didn't just start out being best friends. It didn't happen that way. I used to call her and just shoot the breeze with her a lot of times, building a friendship with her. I was feeling so comfortable with just talking to her about things. And it started to build and build and build, and then eventually she started to reciprocate that. After a while, and rightfully so. I mean, when you're meeting somebody, you don't just air out everything you're dealing with. But it didn't come easy. It didn't come quick. It came over time.
Right.
And then when I saw, not that I was trying to test her, but when I saw that she could keep things, what does it do? It builds the friendship.
Right.
It builds the relationship. So then, in this case, what the stats are saying is that, yeah, she started out being a close friend. But after we got married, I really saw another level to it. Like, this is my best friend. Do I share everything with her? No, she doesn't either. And I don't think, even though that's saying that that you really are, that you should do that with your best friend, but I don't do that because I don't think everything requires a sharing moment with one person, if that makes sense. Like, I mean, like, okay, I just watched LeBron play Kobe or something. I'm not gonna share that with my wife.
Right.
Like, she don't get it.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. Her strengths are not in sports. She loves it. She likes it.
Right.
But she's not gonna connect with it like I can.
On the
with y'all.
same level.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like with y'all in fraternities.
Yes.
You go and try to talk to your wives about what y'all are doing in y'all fraternities.
Right.
And she's quickly gonna check out. Like, okay, why are you telling me this? Well, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm with my wife and I'm learning what her strengths are. What she's good at, what we could talk about. You do that over time and over experiences.
True.
So with the question of should your wife be your best friend, I don't think she has to be your best friend. She doesn't have to be. But if it happens that way, I think you should accept it and own it,
Right.
and not be like, bro, nah, my wife's my best friend. Now I gotta tell her everything because
I mean,
but
there's no shame to that.
no, but I'm saying, but that's what their website is saying. No, I'm saying, but that's what their website is saying.
Right.
The website is saying that your best friend is somebody you share everything
Right.
with.
Right.
And so somebody who is, no offense, somebody who is oblivious or not really taking or breaking that sentence apart will take it for what it is. And that's what they do in the scriptures. They literally take
Exactly.
they
Word
take
for word.
word for word.
Verbatim, yeah.
Thou shalt not kill. That kind of thing.
Exactly.
But there are situations where you have to defend yourself.
Exactly.
See what I'm saying? So somebody could take that line right there and say, hey, it says, my best friend, I'm supposed to share everything with you. All right, wife, sit down. Let me tell you everything I got going on. My wife doesn't tell me everything. I know that for a fact.
That's right.
She doesn't. She doesn't even have to tell me.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. When she was pregnant with Ryan, with my son, with my son, when she was pregnant with my son, she didn't tell me everything she was dealing with because she knew I couldn't connect to that.
Right.
So what did she do? She probably called your wife.
Hey,
She probably talked to your wife. She probably called her sisters who have had children.
that's right.
So you find the person. It's
That
no
you relate
shade.
to.
Right. It's no shade on that best friend.
Right. No, it's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with that.
They're still your best friend. It's just you have other friends you can talk to.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Connectivity. That's
Right.
it.
Right. And we're talking about, should your spouse be your best friend? So I think that again, it's all circumstantial, right? And what does best friend really mean to you? So we shouldn't get caught in the titles of what best friend is.
Right.
Right. We should get caught in the substance of it. So if you feel like your spouse is there with you, right, is present, enough to share what they need to share, what they feel like, is relevant to share, then that's all that matters, right? Don't feel like that they need to share 100% of what they got going on in their life with you, right? Because that's what they got other people in their life to rely on.
Yeah.
Right? So best friend is relative. Don't take it physical. It is what it is. People around provide different support at different points in your life. That's what they're there for, to lean on people. For based on what they've gone through or what they're going through, so that you can relate to them.
Yeah.
And keep it moving. Don't take it personal, right?
Yeah.
Right?
And that's our perspective. That's our perspective as men, Mark. Right. So I agree 100%. But what do you think has been the perspective for women?
Ooh.
As far as the identification of a best friend, or the characterizing of a best friend for them.
I mean, for women,
if you could speak for your spouse, or for a female best friend, or for anybody.
So if I would say that, I would say that I think the journey for females and males are different, right? Especially when talking about marriage, and especially when talking about kids and being involved,
Right.
I think that being able to relate to the journey becomes different along the way. So if you don't have somebody, not necessarily, your same sex necessarily to relate to in regards to what you're going through, just somebody you can lean on and say, hey, my wife did this yesterday. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not feeling it. I don't think she understands where I'm coming from.
Right.
What do you think about it? If you don't have somebody that you can lean on, in your life, it doesn't have to be your necessary quote unquote best friend. Somebody you can lean on to have a different perspective. Because I think that third eye, right? Outward looking in and say, hey, look, take a step back. Somebody to bring you back, to make you grounded and say, hey, think about what she's thinking about. Put yourself in her shoes and say, hey, how do you think she feeling? How did that make it feel about it? I think having that third person look at the situation after you talk about it brings you back grounded and say, okay, you know what, maybe I'm being too precious in the situation. Maybe I need to take a step back and say, I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about it. Maybe I need to take a step back and figure out a situation, a different approach about it.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
I think also in this generation, man, what they do very well is try to tell you how things should go, right?
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is, obviously, when you get married, the first thing they think is that oh, y'all are the best of friends,
Right.
right? And then, oh, how could he or how could she not be your best friend? But again, I go back to what my dad said, was like, I didn't marry her to be my best friend. I married her as my wife. We have a relationship. Yeah, we're friends. Yeah, we have a relationship, but she's not my best friend. I didn't marry her for that reason. You
Right.
get what I'm saying? but to us, that sounds weird, right?
Weird as hell.
It sounds weird as hell. But again, to that generation, it makes perfect sense.
Right.
It makes perfect sense on why that is, and I think it's a tough conversation to have because feelings are involved,
Right.
and people's relationships are involved, and they start thinking like, oh, so you don't really love me because I'm not your best friend?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now that might not be the case for us or the case for your household, but there are people out there, like Marcus said, that feel that way. Like, if we're not best friends, like, why would you marry me?
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So,
It's like, what you think about it, Zay?
I mean, y'all have opened my eyes to a totally different perspective, man. Because me and my wife, we met each other later on in life and stuff like that. So I had already pre-established relationships before I met her. So, you know what I'm saying, to necessarily call her my best friend, that would be a stretch to me. That would be something that I would be like, just trying to force. But it's when I look at y'all definition of it, and you know what I'm saying, I'm coming across to y'all side, but maybe she is my best friend, you know. Because when I think about it, I'm in a situation or whatever it is at work or whatever is good, bad, in between or anything like that, she's the first person I want to share that information with. You know, so looking at the definition of it, I was maybe looking at it in a different light than it should have been looking at. But man, every like y'all said, man, it is differential on each situation, man.
Yeah.
How you gonna
Right.
I will.
provide that? You know what I'm saying, that description of being your best friend. So
I think like with me, when I again it goes. I might be beating a dead horse, but when I get home and I got some great news from work,
right,
my wife is the first person I think of.
Wait, me too.
I'm not saying y'all don't think that. I'm just
Right.
thinking for
No,
me.
no,
Like,
right.
That's the first. Like, if something's happening that's new in my life,
Yeah.
you know, or I'm trying to get back, losing weight, or whatever the case may be, I think of my wife.
Yeah.
And why is that? I really can't tell you, other than I know I claim her as my best friend.
Facts.
You know, because that's somebody that I think of.
And I would think Mark and Mike would differentiate in that, like it's something like that. The first person they wanted to share that information with would be that.
And I look at it this way. Like, I feel like you can have, and I know this is probably going to go into another conversation.
Right.
You can have best friends on both sides of the fence of opposite sex.
Ooh.
I know. No, get me.
Y'all stay tuned, man.
See, here's what I'm saying. My wife is my best friend, but y'all are too. But y'all are men. Y'all are men. So I think it's a good balance for me.
Right.
Because I can go to my wife for this. I can go to her for something I couldn't go to y'all for. You know what I'm saying? Because yes, y'all are married. So there are things I can share with y'all that y'all probably can help me with or vibe with me with. But then there are the things that I'm like, you know what? Only I want to share with my wife.
Right. And you know what,
You know what
y'all?
I'm
I'm gonna challenge y'all as bros, challenge myself, and challenge all the viewers and listeners. Like, we don't have to put it on a hierarchy too, right? Like, best friend ain't got to like come before or after
your wife.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I feel like in divine order, your spouse should come next. Period. Or God, then your spouse, right? But like, we don't have to like make them equal. It shouldn't be a
competition, right?
A competition, right? You know what I'm saying? So I think us defining what that role is, what it means to us, and how we respond within those individual relationships, whether it's platonic or whether it's in our own marriages, is one thing. But like, we shouldn't have to make it above or beneath. You know what I'm saying? Next thing, and I think our examples of who we should call when this situation happens defines that clearly. You know what I'm saying? Or how we would react, who we would lean to. You know what I'm saying? We don't divulge everything to our spouses. We may not divulge everything to this best friend or to that best friend. Like, it's so fragmented that like it's really no real hierarchy. And we should stop trying to equate it to, you know what I'm saying? I know, like, we got a lot of associates, co-workers, what was the other word they used in the article? Co-friends or
Oh yeah.
affiliates or whatever. Right. Best friends, like, we shouldn't have to like stagger it in that manner.
Right. We should be put in a specific category.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Boxes. Everybody should.
Especially as it relates to like our spouses, because that's the topic, right? So like when it relates to our spouses, like, they could be equal in the sense of like how we may lean towards them, or like what we may like want from them. Of course, our roles and affiliations will be different. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm married to my spouse or whatever. But like, the expectation that I have for my spouse is maybe different for what I may have for y'all.
Hey,
right?
Man, that's perfect what you were saying right there, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? And now it's just gonna change my whole outlook. like what I depend on y'all for might be totally different.
Right.
Depend on my wife for.
That's it.
So your
And there's nothing wrong with that.
right?
baby.
Yeah,
wrong with
you know what I'm saying. So I might need y'all for more support of like, look, man, life is beating me down. I need y'all to give me a different perspective on how to like proceed and like,
Right.
you know, keep my confidence up. And it's like, you
Right.
know, as a man, lead the household, I need y'all to give me a perspective on that. Like, whereas my wife, I just need her to like spiritually, like, yo, we're gonna get through this together. This is how we're gonna figure it out, whoop, whoop, whoop,
Yeah.
whatever the situation may be. So
Facts.
each person has a different role in your life. So it might not everybody role might be like a chameleon type role. So this person might be your best friend in this type of situation.
Right.
You might
Right,
you
right,
need
right,
more
right.
your wife in this more in this
Right,
situation.
right.
So y'all have I have totally agree with y'all. Y'all have brightened my horizons.
Hey,
y'all
that's
have,
dope. Hell, we
y'all have made an impact on me because totally when we was in pre-production, I was totally against all three of y'all. But I
he
appreciate
was
y'all.
on us.
And
Oh
hey,
my
reach
wow.
one teach
man.
man.
There you go. There you go. There you go. I
Hey,
love it, man.
whether it's a Blair Underwood situation or whether it's Cynthia Bailey and Mike Hill, man, we respect
Yeah.
everything. You know, every love is different. Everybody's situation is different, but you know, there's no stigma or personification on what best friend is, right? So we're
Right.
talking about you know what somebody means to you. If there's nothing wrong with your wife not necessarily being your go-to for every situation. That's what we're talking about, right?
Right.
So should your wife be your best friend? You know, it's up to you.
Right.
Whatever you consider your best friend. You know, as long as you take care of the situation and you make sure that everything is watered the way it needs to be and everything is taken care of, it's all good.
I would
You
say
know.
this as we close, man. I would say y'all really just listening to y'all, man. And we had a few technical glitches, but we good. We still on the frame together. I would say that I have really reevaluated, like, you know how people use that term very loosely. It
Right.
seems like best friend
Right.
or you know whoever you are to them. You know, looking back at my relationships with people, I might just have a lot more close friends than really best friends.
Fact.
There
You know what I'm
go.
saying? I'm not saying I call everybody a best friend, but I'm saying is like there are people in my life. I'm like, oh, you're a best friend. But now just hearing y'all and looking at this, you know, this information on the web is like, y'all probably really are just close friends.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? So
Change
that's
your
my
definition,
man.
And that's it. Look, why do y'all call a friend? First
Yeah.
of all,
There you go. Watch it.
Amen.
Yeah.
especially best friend.
Facts.
Everybody ain't for
shout
you,
out to
man.
Tara Manning for
We gonna
getting
talk
Oh
this
yeah,
episode,
man. Shout out to
man.
Tara, man.
sure.
Yeah, man.
Bless the kid,
Hey,
man.
Hey, man,
Appreciate
y'all leave
y'all.
some comments too, man.
Oh,
Just
man.
that'll help us out a lot.
Like
Too.
My bad, Zay.
Oh man,
Smash
Shout out
that
to
like
Yes, sir.
button.
Yes, sir.
I'm
Yes, sir.
working
Yes,
on,
sir.
man. Fact.
Comment. Let us know what y'all want to
Yeah,
hear, man.
man.
We want to hear from y'all.
Because we're
Follow,
gonna have a
follow,
part.
follow,
We might
follow.
have a part 2 or 3
Listen, y'all can
based
leave
on
that
y'all
camera.
comments.
It's possible, right?
Right.
And you know, we'll see what happens.
Hey, all right, man. We'll see y'all next time.
All right, 3 bros in the mic.
Love.
Love y'all.
We out.